Hi everyone, my name is Elsa and I'm a software engineer working at a big tech company, and today I'm going to show you the CV that got me this job. First of all, I want to acknowledge that the situation in tech right now, it's pretty unstable. There's been multiple layoffs, hiring freeze in most big tech companies, and it's now harder than ever to get a job in big tech companies. So that's why I thought about making this video in order to craft the perfect CV to get a job as a software engineer. I'm gonna get started with the structure and order of your CV, then I'm gonna give you some tips of do's and don'ts, and at the end we're gonna have a look at the CV that got me into a big tech company. Just a quick disclaimer before we move on. All the views and opinions that are shown in this video are my own and do not represent or reflect the opinions of my employer. Okay, so the first tip that I'm gonna give you guys is one that I've never heard before in any other videos. You wanna make sure that the format of the document is a PDF, and you also wanna make sure that when you convert it to PDF, you're able to select the words in the document. Why is it so important that you are able to select the words? Some big companies receive thousands of applications and they cannot go through them one by one. So the way they do it is they have machines that automatically parse these documents looking for keywords. So you want to make sure that your document is fully selectable word by word, so your document can be parsable by one of these machines. In my case, I'm using a template from Overleaf. If you don't know Overleaf, it's an online editor for LaTeX documents. I will share in the description down below the exact template that I use for my CV, but I'm sure there's plenty of alternatives like Canva and others that generate PDFs where you can select words easily. For the contact information, you want to go really simple. Don't put your complete address, just put the city that you live in. You can put your email address and your phone number if you want to. And then one of the most important things that many people skip is your GitHub profile. If you don't have a GitHub profile yet, I would really recommend you do so. This is a place where you can showcase your main projects. So this really will make you stand out if you're able to showcase good coding projects. Then inside the experience section, you want to put the information that is most related to the job that you're applying to and the most recent. So for example, if you're a software engineer applying to a machine learning position, you want to put all the experience related to machine learning at the top first, because that's the most relevant information for the recruiter. And you also want to sort this in chronological order. While you're writing about your experience, make sure that you use short and concise sentences. So for example, I worked on a project where I created the infrastructure and this other component that caused an increase in revenue of X%. Saying things like better or improved, but not saying by how much, it's very vague. You want to be really specific in order to make sure that the recruiter knows what you did and what was your contribution exactly. The education, it would be more or less relevant depending on whether this is your first job or you have previous experience. If you have previous experience already, you can just put the basic, the bare minimum information. If you already have like 20 years of experience, there's no point of you adding education stuff. But if you're a recent graduate, like I was, for example, then you do want to add things related to your education, especially about your internships. You want to add any experience that you have on internship in the experience section. And then in the education section, you want to add your bachelor's, you want to add your master's, any course that you completed that is relevant for this position, then feel free to add it as well, especially if it's a course emitted by a well-known entity like Google or Amazon certifications, anything like that, you want to add it there as well. Also, if you have any prizes, special achievements, paper publications, you really want to add them to your CV as well. In the skills section, you want to list any skills that are relevant for the position that you're applying for. You want to go really specific into programming languages, any technologies that you think are related to the job position. For example, if you're applying for a machine learning position, you want to say things like, I know how to work with PyTorch, TensorFlow, things like that. Just so the recruiter can see that these are technologies that you've already worked with, and they can quickly say, oh, okay, this is a person that is a good fit for this job position. You don't want to over-index on soft skills and things like that. That really doesn't add much to it. Saying things like, oh, I have really good leadership skills and things like that doesn't add much to the application itself. You really want to go for the technical stuff, because remember, if this is a tech position that we're going for, you have to be technical. That's the most important thing that you want to have, more than any soft skills. Even though those are valuable, those are things that will mostly be evaluated during the interviewing process and not as much in the CV itself. And you want to avoid adding things like, I know how to use Excel, PowerPoint, Photoshop, things that are not really relevant to the position. You just want to avoid it altogether. Then you want to make sure that your CV is maximum 1 page long. I know it can be difficult to remove things from your CV because you think, oh, everything is important, but you want to go for something super simple, super tailored to this application, and this will make the recruiter's job much easier and you will have a much greater chance of being selected. Now let's have a look into some tips and strategies and some things that you should never do while writing your CV. But before we do that, let me thank the sponsor of this video, Brilliant.org. If you're a seasoned engineer that wants to brush up their skills in programming and software engineering, a great way to do that is through Brilliant.org. The first time I started using Brilliant was back in 2017, and I use it to this day to make sure that I keep my math and science skills up to date. Brilliant.org is the best way to learn maths and science in an interactive way. Brilliant has thousands of lessons from foundational and advanced computer science, cryptocurrency, neural networks, and more, and they keep adding new lessons every month. If you're just getting started with computer science, I would recommend you to take the Computer Science Fundamentals course. This course will teach you the basics of computational thinking in an intuitive way. It's really easy to understand even if you come from a non-science background. The great thing about Brilliant is that you can learn on the go. The courses contain bite-sized lessons that you can make progress on with just 15 minutes a day, while on your commute to work or coffee break. To try Brilliant for 30 days completely for free, visit brilliant.org/elsascola or click in the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get a 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Thank you, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. Okay, now let's get into some tips and some do's and don'ts on the CV application. First thing, you don't want to add your profile picture. This is a very common error. I've made this mistake. It's just a waste of space. So you want to remove the picture from there. You want to add as many keywords as you can. And by keywords, I mean any words that are relevant to the position or that can make you stand out in front of other applicants. For example, if you're applying for a machine learning position, you want to add as many words related to machine learning that you can find. Any keywords that you can come up with that you've used in your experience, you want to highlight them in your CV. And you can even put them in bold. That will make them stand out even more. If you have an AWS certification, add Amazon AWS. If you did a course that was run by Google, add Google. If you did an internship at IBM, add IBM. Like, you want to put the keywords, you know? A super good practice when you're crafting your CV is that you should really tailor your CV for that job position. And by tailoring, I mean you should never have two same CVs for two different job positions. You really want to go through the requirements section of the job posting, whether that's on LinkedIn or whatever. You want to go through the bullet points. They're usually like minimum requirements and nice to have, checking the ones that you have and add them specifically in your CV. So for example, if they're looking for someone that has experience with this specific technology, make sure that you add that technology into your experience. This will help them sort out through your application much faster. This is a good fit for this position. Let me move it forward. I'm not saying that you should copy the requirements of the job application into your CV, but you should really try to add as many things as you can into your CV to showcase that you have that specific knowledge that they're looking for. And now, last but not least, let's get into my CV. So you can see right away that the way I've structured my CV is in a structure of 2 columns. This is, in my opinion, the best way to fit in as much information as you can. Contact information should be at the top, your name and the title. I added my email, my GitHub profile. Thinking about it, I would also add my LinkedIn probably, in case they want to share my profile around. Right away, something that I would change from this application is the photo. I don't know why I added that photo, to be honest. I think it was on the template perhaps, I'm not sure. But yeah, you don't want to have a picture of yourself on the application. Like, especially for big tech companies, it doesn't really make much sense to add your photo. I would just remove it right away. Bear in mind that when I wrote this CV, I was a student. So there's a lot of experience that I added here, which was extracurricular stuff that I did or internships. If you're an already experienced software engineer, don't even bother to put this information. Nothing related to internships or things like that. Those are not relevant. So in my experience, from most recent to less recent, I put my biggest contribution. As you can see, I put things like the income doubled the previous year's income. Then right away you can see that I was highlighting in bold the words that I thought were most relevant. Here you can see I added a bunch of technologies that I had used. Yeah, so I would just suggest that you list as many technologies as you can, because that makes it really easy for the machines to pick out many keywords that are related to the job posting, and that will pick you out from the crowd. What I really like about showcasing the programming languages in this format is that I'm able to showcase how much knowledge I have out of each of them. And usually you want to tailor that towards the job application that you're going for. Okay, so those were the tips to create an amazing CV for your job application. Now, if you want to learn more about the interviewing process and how to actually get the job of your dreams, make sure to check out this video right here, where I share all my tips and strategies to stand out during the interviewing process. Thanks a lot for watching, and I will see you in the next one.